Good afternoon, everyone. We have another video for you here today, and we're going to take a forensic dive into Joe Biden's past. And I want to preface this video with this statement. I am normally not a fan of using someone's words that they said many years ago or many decades ago and using those words and holding it against them today. But in this case, I want to point out that we have an established track record that even many years ago, or actually decades ago, Joe Biden admitted that when he's asked tough questions, he gets angry, and then when he gets angry, he tends to lie. And this is a track record that has been established from many decades ago, and today it is actually worse now than it was back then, and this is not a very good trait if you're going to be the president, if you're going to run for president, because as you know, when you're the president, everything you say and everything you do will be heavily scrutinized. So if you get angry every single time someone challenges you, then you're in for a very, very tough 4 years. That being said, here's the video.
Question: what law school did you attend, and where did you place in that class? And the other question is, could you quickly? I think
I probably have a much higher IQ than you do. I suspect. I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship. In the first year in law school, I decided I didn't want to be in law school and ended up in the bottom 2/3 of my class, and then decided I wanted to stay, went back to law school, and in fact ended up in the top half of my class. I won the International Moot Court competition. I was the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my year. I graduated with 3 degrees from undergraduate school and 165 credits, only need 123 credits, and I'd be delighted to sit down and compare my IQ to yours if you'd like, Frank.
So you can see how Biden reacts when his education credentials are challenged. He immediately ridicules the guy that asked the question and says that he thinks he has a much higher IQ than he does, and then ends his statement with saying that he wants to challenge the guy to some sort of, I guess, IQ test at the end of the video. He wants to sit down and he'll compare IQs with the guy that asked the question. It just shows how insecure he is. It shows how intellectually insecure he is as a person. And then picking apart the content of his statement where he was saying that he had graduated in the top half of his class and that he had 3 degrees. I am right here on politifact.com, which is actually they're definitely more of a left-leaning fact check site. So if anyone wants to question my source and possibly suggest that I would use a source that is biased against Joe Biden, well, I'm using politifact.com, so that should tell you all you need to know. And right here, picking apart that statement, Joe Biden says, I went to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class who had a full academic scholarship. The first year in law school, I decided I didn't want to be in law school, ended up in the bottom 2/3 of my class, and then decided I wanted to stay, went back to law school, and in fact ended up in the top half of my class. And then Biden also claimed that he had 3 degrees from undergraduate school, and here's the fact check on those statements. So Biden claimed that he had 3 degrees. He actually had 2 degrees. He had a history and political science major. Biden claimed that he graduated in the top half of his class. He actually graduated 76th of 85 students. So he claims that he was in the top half. He was actually in the bottom 15 percentile of his class. 76 of 85. And then when Biden was asked, when he was confronted about the lies that he made, claiming that he had 3 majors when he in fact had 2, claiming that he had graduated in the top half of his class when he graduated in the bottom 15 percentile, Biden says, I exaggerate when I'm angry. And I would think that this would be a horrible trait to have as a president because, I mean, you see what Donald Trump goes through on a daily basis, where he goes through this liberal firing squad of media reporters that try to take him out with every question, that are gunning for this I gotcha moment every single time they ask one of these loaded questions. So I can't imagine that it's going to go very well for Joe Biden when he actually starts getting tough questions from the media. And scrolling down here, Joe Biden gives a further statement. He says, he goes, "At a small campaign event in Claremont, New Hampshire, I lost it. I shouldn't have been there in the first place. I didn't feel any better afterward. What I said was a quick and stupid rant that I wish I'd never said. Worse than that, without realizing it, I'd exaggerated my academic record." So here he is saying that unknowingly, he didn't even realize that he was lying. So let's just assume that he's telling the truth and he really didn't realize that he was lying. Well, this is going to spell big trouble for Joe Biden in the future, as I mentioned, because the questions are only going to get much harder from here. And let's look at the other scenario that, let's just assume that this is not truthful. That Joe Biden did in fact know he was lying when he was citing that he had 3 majors instead of 2, or that he said that he graduated in the top half of his class and just didn't even remember that he graduated in the bottom 15 percentile. Well, then he is just knowingly lying. So either scenario is really bad. Either you're just knowingly lying. I guess when you get angry, you just tend to knowingly spout out completely false lies, right? Or you didn't realize what you were saying was a lie. You're completely oblivious. You lack any self-awareness for what you're doing at that moment because you are inflamed by so much anger and rage, just based off the fact that one of your supporters would even question your academic credentials. It caused you to be so angry that you were in this rage where you didn't even realize the words that were coming out of your mouth, which is actually probably more dangerous than if he just knowingly came out and said, yeah, I lied about that. So tying this to today to show you that this has been an established track record for a long time, and today we rarely get to see Joe Biden answer any questions at all because almost all of his press conferences, every single time he gives any sort of speech, they usually end like this.
Let's get to work now. Thank you.
Mr. Vice President, time for a few questions.
Not only does Biden rarely take any tough questions, he rarely takes any questions, period, because when he does, it doesn't go very well. In a more recent campaign speech that he was giving to to a group of his supporters, one of his supporters stood up, asked a question, had challenged him on his son, Hunter Biden, and his dealing with a Ukrainian oil company, and Biden completely lost it. And you could see the same way, even 30 plus years ago, that Biden reacted. And when he was questioned about his educational credentials, he challenged the guy to an IQ test. Well, in the almost similar fashion, he tries to stand up for, I guess, his mental and his physical abilities and challenges the guy to a push-up competition. Just watch.
You're a damn liar, man. Check my shape on. Let's do push-ups together here, man.
Let's do push-ups together, man. Let's sit down and compare IQs. So you can see this insecurity that Biden has, whether it be his aptitude, whether it be his physical abilities, whether it be his mental health. He has been reacting the same to when people challenge him on any of these issues. He's been reacting pretty much the same way for a long time. And I mean, it's actually gotten much worse today because now you are coupling someone who is extremely insecure. Now you're coupling that with someone that has extremely poor memory, that most likely has dementia and can't even get through a sentence without stumbling and forgetting what he's going to say. At least back then, you could see Biden could easily get through his statement without forgetting what he's going to say. And like I said, now you are coupling someone who is extremely volatile, that gets extremely angry whenever they're asked any tough or challenging questions, which is going to absolutely spell disaster if you want to be president, because everything you do, everything you say is going to be heavily scrutinized. And we saw in one of the most recent interviews, this was just earlier this month, when Biden's mental fitness was challenged by a reporter when the reporter asked if he's taken any tests to test his cognitive abilities. You could see Biden completely went off on this reporter and accused him or asked him if he gets tested for cocaine.
Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man. That's like saying you, before you got in this program, you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not. What do you think, huh? Are you a junkie?
What do you say?
Come on, man. Are you a junkie? So as you could see, Biden has an absolute inability to take any tough questions and still stay composed. It seems like every single time, and I mean, this dates back from decades ago, when Biden is challenged about his physical abilities, his mental abilities, he completely goes off the rails. He either attacks the person asking the question, challenges them to an IQ test, challenges them to a push-up contest, or asks them if they have been tested for cocaine, or asks if they are a junkie. So once again, I mean, this will absolutely spell disaster. Can you imagine if Biden, for even one day, had to go up in front of the hostile media that Donald Trump has to deal with day in and day out, and was asked all these tough and challenging questions? I mean, he rarely gets asked any questions at all, and in the few moments that he does, he completely falls apart, and even back then admitted that when he is challenged, it makes him extremely angry, and when he's angry, he tends to exaggerate, or in other words, lie. So these are things that you should consider coming up to November. Anyway, that's my video. Hope you like it. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe, and I will see you all next time.